Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this week we are going to review a comic that is not technically a New Universe title, but is sometimes mistaken for one.
Who would do that, Michael? Who would mistake this book for a New Universe title?
I don't know, and to be honest, I had never heard anyone mistake it for a New Universe title. But now I'm on a Facebook page called Marvel Comics New Universe Fans, and just about every 2 or 3 days, someone posts this comic, and they open up their post with that exact wording every single time.
So the book we're doing here today, Strikeforce Morituri from 1986.
Yep.
Strikeforce Morituri. I guess that's why people confuse it with New Universe, because it came out roughly in the same time period, and it doesn't have any superheroes in it.
True.
It's not part of the Marvel universe. Technically,
right.
It's a different universe. So I guess that's why the confusion. But I would assume, because I just, Mike O, you and I, we're big marks for the New Universe. We know all the titles. We know that the 8 core titles of the New Universe.
Right,
we got that them, right. You have them tattooed on your inner thigh. So we don't get confused about what's part of the New Universe and what isn't.
Exactamundo.
Yeah. But Strikeforce Morituri, not part of the New Universe. In fact, I'd never heard of this book.
That's interesting. So if you'd never heard of it, how did you come to pick it?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, I should say I never heard of it.
Okay.
And even up until the last 45 years and so many months, I haven't heard of it. But just in the last, recently, maybe a year ago, I heard about it. And but then I forgot about it again. And then I was reminded of it again recently.
Really?
And that's why I said, we got to read it. Because I was researching books that we haven't done on Flea Market Fantasy.
Right.
Because I always get mad at you and the dopey picks you make. So I'm like, hey, we need to find some better books that we can do.
Like US 1 and
no,
Team
US
America.
1 is great. I love US 1. But so I'm like, let's do something new here instead of Batman every other week. And look, we got Strikeforce Morituri.
Right.
So, but you were aware of this book?
Of course. I had never read it, but I definitely remember seeing the ads as a kid. They were all over the place. And this is, when I was peak, just getting into comics, 1986-ish, so...
Yeah, 86 was my wheelhouse, this is when I was, at the peak of my career in comic book reading, and I don't have any recollection of seeing the ads or ever encountering this book. But I'm glad I read it now, because I was impressed by it. Strikeforce Morituri, 1986, created by Peter B. Gillis and Brent Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
That's the creative team here. And do you know much about the Peter B. Gillis?
No, but I feel like I should. Like, he's connected to something big, isn't he?
Well, we actually just mentioned his name recently here on the show because the one issue of Micronauts Bill Mantlo did not do was issue 59, and Peter B. Gillis did it.
Right.
And then Peter B. Gillis wrote the entire run of Micronauts: The New Voyage, or The New Voyages of the Micronauts, or whatever the hell that was called, Volume 2.
Very cool.
So that's where we mentioned him recently. But other than that, I did not have much of a history with Peter B. Gillis. And he wrote the first 20 issues of Strikeforce Morituri, and then he left, and then a fellow named James Hudnall came in and did the final 11. Do you know anything about James Hudnall?
Yeah, I know him because I believe he wrote Amazing Spider-Man in the 2000s, I think.
All right.
I think he's also like a... Well, hold on a sec here. I thought you were the one that did the research here. But anyway...
Yeah, but he's not the writer of this book, so I really didn't research him.
Okay, fair. No, but he's been around for a while. He did Lex Luthor, the unauthorized biography. He wrote The Hulk. And I think, I'm pretty sure he's done some other stuff, but that's all I really know about.
Yeah, I never heard of his name until this. The artist, Brent Anderson, he drew 18 of the first 20 issues. And Whilce Portacio did the other 2. And then a fellow named Hugh Thomas, John Calamy, and Mark Bagley, they all had turns finishing the run. I've heard of Mark Bagley, but not the other 2.
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard of Bagley, who I'm not a fan of, but I've not heard of the other 2.
Bagley drew Spider-Man, right? Didn't he do some Spider-Man stuff?
Unfortunately, for years, yeah. He wrote Amazing Spider-Man through the Clone Saga, and then he did Ultimate Spider-Man for 100 issues or more or something, and then he came back, and he's still around.
Yeah, so with this book, Strikeforce Morituri, if you never heard of it, Morituri is Latin, and it basically means those who are about to die. That's a little catchphrase here. And how do you feel about that as a comic book title name, Michael? Strikeforce Morituri.
Well, at least it's original. It's not like calling your comic the Champions, right, or something that generic. At least it's original.
It is original, but it is kind of awkward to say.
Morituri. That's true. I'll give you that.
Like I know it's a perfectly apt title for this book. Mm-hmm. It's fitting, and I'm sure they want to be highfalutin, breaking into Latin and everything. Oh, look how classy we are. But I don't know. If this book had a better title, I'm guessing it would have caught on more.
Could be, yep. Now, what about the Strikeforce part of it?
Well, Strikeforce, cool. Hey, the kids like that, yeah. You know,
yep.
That sounds cool. Uh-huh. Like it was a Strikeforce Monkey or something like that. Everybody like, yeah, that's
there you go.
But Strikeforce Morituri. Uh-huh. People are just like, what the fuck's Morituri?
What if they called it Strikeforce Can-Am Connection? Would that be good?
That would have been pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Tom Zank, right?
Uh-huh.
Wasn't he?
Tom, wasn't it Tom Zink? Tom.
Yeah, Zink. Yeah, Zink. Yeah, Tom Zink. And who was the other part of that?
Wasn't it Rick Martel?
I think that is correct, yeah.
Then Rick Martel went on to join Tito Santana in Strikeforce.
But we'll pick this up on our WWE podcast.
Right.
But Strikeforce Morituri, yeah, I would have preferred a different name, but, whatever. Here's the gimmick, though, for this book, Michael. I think it's set in the year 2069, somewhere around there. And, again, this was written in 1986. And an alien invasion happens here on Earth. And the aliens, they refer to them as the Horde. And they come down there fighting the humans. And the humans, in order to fight back against those aliens, one of them scientist guys, he develops a process that you can give humans superpowers. So like, hey, let's do this. We can fight back at them aliens with super-powered humans. But there's one catch, Miguel.
What's that?
If you go through the Strikeforce Morituri process and get the superpowers, you will die within 1 year.
Right.
Like, because the powers are so damaging to the body that eventually it exhausts the resources of the human form, and you just collapse and explode or whatever. So now you could last a year. Hey, you could last a year and 2 weeks, or you could last a day. Uh-huh. You're not really sure. So it's pretty much just like life. You know, you don't know. You don't know, Michael. But that's a hell of a gimmick for a book.
It's a pretty cool gimmick. It's original.
It's amazing. Now, obviously, there's a couple flaws here for a ongoing series in a comic book. Because if you start the team, your Strikeforce Morituri team, with like 6 people, naturally, just because of the process and everything, you're going to have to lose some along the way. If you want to keep the gimmick going, you're going to have. So they did that, and apparently, over the 31 issues of the book, there were at least 4 generations of heroes that basically came in here.
Well, and that's also another reason I imagine it failed, right?
Yes,
Yep.
that is true. Yep. Now, I think towards the end of the book, in that 4th generation of team members there, they had one guy who got infected with a virus, and the virus fought the Morituri process, so it eliminated the death part of it. So I think that was their way to get around that and say, all right, now we'll have some team members we can build around. This gimmick is really better for a novel or a short story or some limited series, not necessarily an ongoing series.
Right.
Because
well, and also,
because you eventually, because what you want to do here is explore death and its meaning and everything. And once you do that 1 or 2 times, you're kind of just running out of steam,
And that's I'm assuming that's why Peter Gillis left after 20 issues, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
But this idea is so great. I assumed it had to have been taken from Philip K. Dick or something, like one of those great sci-fi writers.
Sure.
But I cannot find any inspiration for this anywhere. So I'm thinking this might actually be an original Peter B. Gillis, Brent Anderson.
Interesting, huh?
Now, I have looked in other Peter B. Gillis stuff. Let's talk more about him. He was born in 1952 in New York City. His first work at Marvel was he did a Captain America story in issue 224 in 1978. And then he did 2 issues of Supervillain Team Up in 1979, issues 16 and 17, which I think may have been the final 2 issues of the run, if I'm remembering properly. He did 13 issues of What If from 1979 to 84. I could see him writing What If. That seems right in his wheelhouse there, these kind of stories. Then we mentioned he did the Micronauts. Then he did Defenders issue 131 to 152 from 84 to 86. Eternals Volume 2 issues 1 through 8, 85, 86.
Interesting, yes.
Now, I want to ask you about this, Michael. In 1985, he started a digital series called Shatter.
Oh, I remember Shatter. Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? I never heard of this. Because 1985, I was like, wait, did they meet 1995? No. 1985. It was like they did it on computers or something, and they, I don't know. Do you know more about it?
No, I don't know much about it. I just remember hearing the name. I don't know if I've ever... Oh, it's First Comics, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. It's very primitive, but, it's cool to look at,
But I guess that premise of that book is similar to Blade Runner, basically.
Interesting.
Which was Philip K. Dick. And so I'm guessing he's a big fan of Philip K. Dick.
Probably. Oh,
yeah.
Can I give a little plug here? Do you remember the Batman graphic novel that was done on a computer called Blind... No. What was it called? Blind Justice? No, Batman... I don't remember what it was called. Oh, Digital Justice. But it was also all done on a computer. And it was like a big deal when it came out, but I don't think it was very good.
What year was that?
Like 89, 90.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there is a Philip K. Dick influence here, I'm guessing. So also he did Strange Tales Volume 2, 1 through 19, in 1987-88, and that featured Doctor Strange. Black Panther Volume 2, 1 through 4, 1988. He also did 5 issues of What the... in 88 to 92.
Oh, wait a minute. He did the Punisher and Wolverine stories.
I think so, yeah.
Yes, those were great.
I think so. So there you go, Peter B. Gillis. Any other Peter B. Gillis memories?
Hey, once you talk about what can come after that? Nothing.
He peaked. Yeah, nothing else. But that's pretty impressive. He did other stuff, but those are the main things that he did. Then Brent Anderson, the artist here, born 1955 in San Jose, California. His first regular series was Kazar, 1981. He did issues 1 through 15 and 18 and 19.
Interesting, okay.
Then he did 2 issues of Uncanny X-Men 144 and 160. I can't remember what those issues would be off the top of my head.
That would be when they met Dracula, I think, around that time. Wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think he did do that one, right?
Yeah.
But 144, that would have been right after Days of Futures Past, right? Wasn't that 142?
It was like the very first one, yeah. I don't know what the story was, but I don't know.
And then he also did the annual number 5. I can't remember what annual would that be the Impossible Man annual? I can't remember. But,
I don't know. Archon or something? Remember the Archon annual?
No, I don't.
Anyway, well, I mean, it's not like we don't have access to Google, but...
Yeah, this is part of the show where you Google things. But that was 1981-82. Then in 1983, this is probably his most famous work. He did the X-Men God Loves Man Kills graphic novel, and that was really good. Very strong. And that story also inspired the X2 movie, right?
Yes, it did, yeah.
The same story there. It's a little different.
Oh, by the way, the X-Men annual was with the Badoon.
The Badoon.
Yep. The Badoon.
I don't remember that story at all then. But I remember the Badoon because remember Korvac and the saga of Korvac and the Badoon? We talked about them.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep,
I was going to say
remember.
You don't remember it all, but yeah, okay. Yeah. After the X-Men graphic novel, we did 6 issues of Power Pack in 85, 86. And then in 1995, though, Michael, this might be his other big claim to fame. He co-created Astro City.
Yes, I believe I mentioned that.
Alex Ross. I have no concept of Astro City, so I looked it up, and apparently it's like an anthology series, like focused on Astro City, a fictional city. And they take different characters take the spotlight each issue? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it's basically a homage to classic superheroes. So he'll do his own version of, instead of Superman, it will be I think it's the Samaritan. Instead of the Fantastic Four, it'll be the First Family. But it's the comic is all done in real time, and so I believe in the present day these superheroes are all old, and they're usually flashing back to when they were younger, like in the 60s and stuff like that. So it's almost as if like the DC Marvel characters were all lived together and it was all in real time. It's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So, all right, anything else about Brent Anderson?
Only that, he's kind of similar to Neil Adams, but, he's got his own style. I think he's a pretty good artist for sure.
Yeah. All right, so there's the creative minds behind this here book. We already told you the premise. There's really not much else to say once you get past the premise of Strikeforce Morituri until you get into it. But what a gimmick, though. I really love that idea.
Great gimmick, yeah.
I still can't believe it. No one thought of that until this. But this was 86, so, that's 40 years ago or whatever. But still. Man, very impressive. All right, so let's look at issue 1, Strikeforce Morituri.
Yeah, one more impressive thing not in the Marvel Universe. For Marvel to do that at 86, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why people get confused, Michael. They think, that's part of the new universe. No.
Right.
It's not.
So basically we've got our cover of number 1 here. We got a corner box, but no characters. We just have kind of like logos here. Well, we have
kind of like a United Nations almost logo,
right?
Because I guess the world is banding together to fight the alien horde.
Right. And then we have our tagline in kind of like computer font: "We who are about to die," which is what Morituri means, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Right. Strikeforce Morituri, number 1, or actually it says number 1, then it's his first issue. And on the cover, we've got 3 guys here. I don't know which guys these are. Do you?
Well, they're the Black Watch. They're not any of the characters in our... We'll get into it when we get into the story.
Okay.
I'll point out who they are.
So, yeah, we got 3 guys dressed up in funky gear, shooting lasers, and they're shooting at guns that are pointed at them. And then in the background is kind of like like the Earth, and there's an alien, I guess one of the Horde guys, holding the Earth in his hand. But the alien is so large that it's sort of like you have to kind of like look at it for a second to figure out what's going on, right? Because the alien is really zoomed in.
And he's in purple and black,
right?
Like the main colors on the cover are purple and black. And also, Mike, I'll notice how we're really just seeing like a ribbon running left through right down of the cover. Like the corners, the lower left edge and the top right edge are all black, and it says like "Total War on Earth" there at the bottom.
Yes, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah, so really the art is just in like one ribbon, like through the.
Yeah, that's a good
cover.
point. Wow.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So yeah, I like this cover. Good energy to it, and this is Brent Anderson drawing the cover, and but like the poses of the fellas.
It almost looks like something Michael Golden would do, you
love Michael Golden.
Yep, I see him everywhere.
Yeah. So, all right, nice cover, and then we open it up, and once again, Stanley presents We Are About to Die, Strikeforce Morituri, created by Peter B. Gillis and Brent Anderson. That's kind of new, right? 86?
It's unusual. And I also when I did my brief research, I found out that apparently a movie studio wanted to adapt this, and they had to actually get the rights from Peter B. Gillis.
Yeah, well, that was a big story. I guess there was I forget who wanted to do it. I think the Sci-Fi Network wanted to do something, make a show, and then they optioned it for a movie. And Peter B. Gillis said he had the rights to it, so, he never signed a contract with Marvel giving them the rights to the characters. But then Marvel said, hey, wait, you can't just make a movie about Strikeforce Morituri. So then Marvel released like another book with Strikeforce Morituri. And they tried to do some shenanigans there. So this was all back in like 2015, and it is now 2022 last I checked, and there's still no Strikeforce Morituri TV or movie, so I'm guessing Marvel won out in the end.
It's just, Marvel was never going to make a movie, but they also just want to make sure no one else makes a movie, right? What a bunch of assholes.
This would be a hell of a movie, though, I think.
It'd be great, yeah. And, I want to point out, just like Dreadstar, this opening splash page is not your typical superhero splash page. It's just a dude standing there looking out over like kind of a cityscape, right?
Yeah, but the cityscape, it's futuristic, the designs of the buildings, and also the buildings are like destroyed, a lot of them.
Yeah, semi-destroyed,
bunch of rubbish. And when you say a dude, it's like a dude in like a almost like an astronaut outfit. Yeah.
Right. And so basically the narration describes how
it's a hell of a shot though, Michael.
It's great. Really I love it. Yeah, it's great. It establishes the world or whatever. But anyway, we see this guy standing there, and it talks about how in the 21st century the changing coastlines, blah blah blah. So this is new. Is this a real place? You tell me.
Roanoke, Virginia. I don't think I think there's a Roanoke, but I think maybe in the future there's a new Roanoke.
Right. Has become a thriving port and resort. And then it says that was, of course, before the aliens got through with it, right? So right away we're thrown in. And they talk about how they don't know where they came from, but they came and destroyed half the city. They melted it, actually. And then these guys here in these kind of spacesuits are looking for survivors, but not really finding any. And they're just there to give the victims a chance to be identified and buried. Oops, just a minute. Oh, crap, my thing popped out. Hold on.
Mike L. just got attacked.
What's that?
There's a home invasion at Mike L.'s house.
Hold on. I missed all that. Say it again.
I just said there's a home invasion at your house.
Yeah.
The alien hordes have come in to get Mike L.
There you go. Yeah, so basically, this is the lead. This is what's his name? Harold C. Everson is narrating the story for us. And again,
Yes.
It's kind of like a Blade Runner. Well, it's not Blade Runner-esque, but it's dystopian future science fiction, look to it. Like you see like destroyed roads and stuff like that, and this cool little ship kind of like floating above the ground, traveling through this destroyed cityscape.
Yeah, but our narrator, Harold C. Everson, he's part of like a, what's the name they use? Like a recovery and, what's the word I'm looking for? They go into wherever the aliens invade and destroy, his team go in and like try and save anybody or recover or rebuild, So like they're pulling dead bodies out of the rubble and shit, You can see him doing that. So it's, not pleasant work. But this fella, he's basically the main protagonist here, this Harold C. Everson, and he narrates the whole book, and he's also an aspiring author. He wants to be a writer, and he wants to fight them damn alien hordes. That's also what he wants to do.
Right. And so here it says he works for the Pedia Emergency Volunteers.
Yeah. Emergency volunteer.
And they call his nickname is RB, which is short for Rapid Beaver.
Rabid Beaver.
Rabid, right. Yeah. Not rapid.
way different. Because a Rapid Beaver, he's very fast. Rabid, he's kind of tough and scary.
Right.
So yeah.
And so right away we're dropping in little clues to the premise of the book, right? So his one buddy is like, everybody, it's Arby's last day before he turns Morituri, right? This calls for something.
Yeah, they're all excited that he's going to go in for this Morituri process.
Right.
It's like a big deal. Like, hey, you're one of the lucky ones. Because I guess only so many people are eligible because they got to have the right body chemistry or whatever, blood
right.
or whatever. So everyone's real excited. Like, hey, you just won the lottery. Good on you, Harold C. Everson, Rabid Beaver. Good on you. And we should say he doesn't look like a rabid beaver. He looks like a very studious, humble fella.
Yeah.
A little blonde hair. Like, he doesn't look like a tough guy or anything.
Not at all. No, just a regular guy.
Yeah.
So then he gets onto like the futuristic equivalent of a train, it looks like, right? I guess that's a train. I don't know what it is. But he's riding along in something, and he's just looking out the window. And he's thinking about the Morituri process. And he's talking about how it's like winning the lottery. And then he's like, if only everybody in my life felt that way. And then he flashes back to when he was, I guess, a teen?
No, he's his parents pick him up at the...
Oh, is that... See, I thought... At first I wasn't sure if that was a flashback. But that's just like a few minutes later.
Yeah, he's traveling back to see the folks before he goes into the Morituri process.
See, okay. I thought it was like a flashback because he's reading comic books. What kind of an adult reads comic books? But anyway, so he goes back.
Yeah, his parents pick him up at the train station, and they're driving their space car back home to their space house.
Right. Yeah, and now he's sitting, and it's almost like a Luke Skywalker-esque scene. He's sitting with his parents, and they're kind of disapproving about what
Well, they're trying to talk him out of the They don't want him to go to the Morituri process,
right?
Because they know what it means, and everyone knows what it means. He knows what it means, but the reader doesn't at this point. The reader doesn't know. At this point, the reader's like, "Oh, well, why don't they want him to be Morituri? This sounds pretty awesome." But
right, because they don't know what Morituri means. Yeah. And then the mother's like, "He's off. He's going off to become a dead man." Right, so that gives another clue. So then he opens up a comic book called "The Last Stand of the Black Watch." Right?
Yes. And these are the guys who are on the cover. These three.
Yes. Yeah. See, I didn't even put that together. Wow. Okay. It's a good thing we're doing this show.
Thank God I'm here.
Yeah. It's all starting to make sense now.
Yeah.
So then we see this ridiculous comic book that's pretty much like every comic book we review on Flea Market Fantasy. And it's a bunch of guys riding this like space, not like a space sled with like guns on it, and they're shooting stuff and shouting stuff, right?
Yeah, it's very action-packed, like explosions, lasers going off,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. And anytime he's reading the Black Witch comic, the panels are tilted a little bit to let you know that he's reading the book. And also the art is drawn by Whilce Portacio.
Oh, see, there you go.
I think that was exceptional. Like they bring
Yeah,
in a different artist to draw that.
Right.
Because it's just a great touch.
Yeah, it's smart. And also at the time, he was just starting out, so he wasn't quite as skilled as Brent Anderson, you know? So yeah, it definitely looks different.
Yeah, we should say Whilce Portacio, for those who don't know, he went on to help create Image Comics. Right?
Yes.
What was his? He was big. He was drawing Punisher and Punisher War Journal, right? Before he left?
Did. Yeah, Punisher War Journal, and then he did X Factor. Remember the first reboot of X Factor where he gave them all blue and yellow costumes with those weird stripes on them?
All right, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he left.
Yeah, he went to Image, and what was his name of his studio at Image?
Wait. First, I must say, then he did Uncanny X-Men, and he created Bishop. Remember?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the X-Men run. Yeah.
And then he did Image, and unfortunately, he was one of the 7 founders. But then he had all kinds of problems. Like I think his sister died, and he had all these family events. So he kind of didn't really participate in the first couple of years. But when he finally did, he published Wetworks.
I was going to say, I think Wetworks, that was the only thing I could remember. And I remember at the beginning, he had a lot of, like the issues, would there be very irregular with their publishing.
Right.
You know, they weren't every month. So I had no idea about the personal stuff and everything. I just assumed he wasn't hitting his deadlines. So, all right. So, yeah, is he known for what has he done since then? Anything?
I mean, I think when they did Heroes Reborn a couple years later at Marvel, he did Iron Man.
But he has a very distinctive style, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it, you can say, hey, there's Whilce Portacio.
Yeah. Like, he was grouped in with, like, Jim Lee, but, yeah, his style is very different.
But I love that they brought in a different guy to do these flashbacks
smart.
in the comic book pages.
So
basically, the Portacio stuff is the Black Watch, these heroic Morituri soldiers fighting the alien hordes, and they're being, like, super heroic and everything. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And they're like tearing doors off and getting shot at and punching them and, you know, just like the typical superhero stuff. Like, and then like the quips, like, who dies next, right? All right, dirtbags, your commander is dead. Who dies next? That type of thing.
And our buddy, our narrator here, Harold C. Everson, he's reading this. He's been reading this Black Witch stuff for a while, you know, since he's a kid. And it inspires him to want to be part of the Morituri. Basically, this is just government propaganda.
Right.
Trying to convince people that the Morituri process is awesome. You know,
right.
We gotta go through this, yeah.
I guess you could say that about all military propaganda, right? But we're not going to get into that.
You can say that about every movie and TV show ever made.
Yeah. So. That's a separate discussion, though. That's for next episode.
But now he's done reading the book for now, and then we flash back to he's arriving at the Morituri complex, right?
Right. And then, I guess technically this is Is this now the splash page, the official splash page of the book? I guess it is. Whatever. Well, it says the title. The title of the story is Though...
Oh, that is true, I guess. Yeah.
Though some have named these so. Very, very, like you said earlier, very, not pretentious, but...
Highfalutin, yeah.
Highfalutin.
So they go in here and he says, hey, it's so much like a cemetery, this place. It's so peaceful and calm. Again, more foreshadowing.
Right. Yeah. And so then he goes in and he meets this woman named Beth Louise Nyon.
She's like the commander.
Right, commander of Strikeforce Morituri.
How about that? A female commander in 1986.
Yep. You know? Very woke in 1986. Yeah. And then she introduces him to a guy named Dr. Kimo Tualima.
And I think that name is also like a in-joke. I guess it's a Finnish name, and it's something that also has to do something with the death or something.
Oh, interesting. Story. All kinds of hints here, eh?
Yeah, or maybe there's a story with a guy with that name in Finnish history. I don't know. I forget. I read it. Now I can't remember.
Right.
But it has to do with death as well. Yeah.
So then she wants to introduce him to the other acceptees of the Morituri program, right?
Yep.
And we meet all these guys: Robert Greenbaum, Jalene Anderson, Louis Armanetti, Lorna Rayburn, and Aileen, what is that? Pagrovna. These people, of course, will all be dead soon. But anyway.
Well, yeah, they're going to be the Morituri process. And Alina has actually started the process. It goes in a couple phases. The first phase, you get like increased strength and endurance, and it like kind of prepares the body for the second phase.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then I like this little artistic effect, though. Even though Brent Anderson is a realistic artist, he gets a handshake from one of the guys, and we see like the little.
Well, he shakes Arlene's hand.
That's right. Yes, Arlene. And
Eileen,
he gets,
I guess.
Eileen. Yeah, Aileen. Eileen. And he gets those little comic book stars coming from his hand because it hurts, right?
Yeah, she's so strong she doesn't realize her own strength. She smashes his hand. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the stars as well. Yeah.
Yep. And then the woman's like, yeah, I'm going to show you to your quarters. And so he goes into his quarters, and in his little duffel bag, he's got an issue of that comic book, The Last Stand of the Black Watch.
Yep.
And
so
then
we get more Whilce Portacio here.
Yep. And we get a scene of the Black Watch fighting the Horde, and they're dressed up in their cool costumes. And then they actually get shot and killed in the story.
They're surrounded by the aliens, and the alien Horde guy there. And we should mention these aliens. They're like pink-skinned humanoid kind of people, but they have long fingernails, and they're decorated. They come to Earth, and they decorate themselves with like ornamental things from Earth, like little bones, I guess, from humans, maybe finger bones or something. And then also like it looks like guitar picks, crayons. Just any little junket they find, a little piece of junk they find on Earth, they make into decorative jewelry that they wear, which I think is pretty cool as well. And
they also look kind of like deformed, right?
Yeah. Their faces are gnarled and like monsters, kind of. Yeah.
Right. And
but
so
the Black Watch. Oh, I'm sorry, Michael. But the Black Watch is surrounded by the alien horde, and they're like, "Oh my God!" Well, and they give like this dramatic speech. What do they say here? Our mission's accomplished. Go ahead and fire because we're only the first. And the alien guy says, and they will all die in the same way at the signal, fire, and boom, they murder the Black Watch. They just gun them down. The end.
Right.
So they die heroically.
Yep. It says end, or it says the end. And then we see the guy reading it, and then, which woman is, Lorna. Lorna comes to the doorway.
That's the commander lady.
Right. And she's like, great stuff, isn't it? Too bad that's not the real story. Uh-oh. And he's like, Lorna, what do you mean? And she's like, it's not that they didn't do what they did or they weren't heroes, but, well, you'll find out. Get some sleep. It's a big day for you tomorrow. Yeah. So then he goes to sleep, and then all of a sudden there's this, I guess this is an alarm that goes off, right?
Yep.
Oh, no, it's her screaming. It's Aline screaming. She's had a nightmare, and she's so strong that she, like, crushed or like kind of smashed through one of the wall to her bedroom, right?
It's not just a nightmare. It's like I guess she did have a nightmare and she woke up, but she's consciously scared of dying because she's coming to grips with the fact that this process is going to kill her, and she's like, oh, maybe I fucked up, you know?
Right.
Maybe
It's weird though. Look at her leg. It looks like it's bent the wrong way.
Yeah, because she's all contorted up and like
right.
So yeah, she's like cowering in a corner, like she's so scared.
Yeah. Right, and then the guy's like, "Come on with me, honey. We'll have some tea and talk about it." And
that's the doctor. That's the guy who does the mortality process. And she's like, "Oh no, Dr. Tullamilla, I don't want to die. I don't want to die." And he's like, "Yeah, don't worry, it'll be fine. A little tea, it'll be all right." Yeah.
So then, so I guess this is like the part of the story where we find out exactly what's going on, like as far as the process, because then this is where the woman says, I've got to ask you this again personally. Why do you want to die? And he's like, well, because it's important. This Morituri process may be the key to driving the aliens off the Earth. And then she's like, well, no, that's not what I mean. Why do you want to die? And he basically says, I want to use my life in the best way it can be used, and that's in the defense of the planet. Right? Yeah. This is my way of using my life and death. And then I guess, then she says that, she points out that he's actually a writer, and he's just kind of sounding like he's writing like a neat phrase for one of his stories.
Yeah, using your life is a neat phrase.
Right.
But this isn't one of your stories. This is real. If you take the process, you'll die within a year, period.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he does intend to write about all this stuff. But
right.
He still wants to do it, though. He's committed. He wants to do it.
Yep. Okay, so it looks like now he's gonna go through the process, right?
Yeah, they're
And-
taking him in, showing him how it works, and all that kind of
Right.
stuff.
So there's this gigantic, like, cool-looking machine. So wait, is that him in the machine? No. It's some other guy in the machine. And they're showing him on, like, the readout and everything, and then they hit this little button. And then they show... What the hell is this again?
Well, they have to show him the true Nightwatch story. Like that comic book, the way
Yes.
the Nightwatch died in the comic book wasn't true, and she told him that. So now they're going
Right.
to show him what really happened to the Nightwatch. They didn't
Right.
get gunned down by alien hordes. They have a video taken from their spaceship where they were like flying away, and the one pilot the process killed him, and they all blew up and crashed.
Right.
So.
And he looks like... Oh, is this him getting shot?
It's his face just exploding.
Yeah. It's pretty horrific, eh?
Like all the energy's coming out of his eyeballs, out of his mouth, and
Right.
he looks like a skull there. So yeah, he implodes and then their ship crashes, and that's how they actually die. And they
Right.
say, "Hey, do you still want to go through that process? If you see your face is going to explode, are you
Right.
still in?" And he's like, maybe I need to think about this a little bit more."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now he's having second thoughts. And so then now he's sitting having lunch. Oh, he's having lunch with this woman,
That's Aileen again. The
Aileen,
strong
and she's
lady.
talking about how he's asking her why she took the process, and she's like, well, I was never really good looking, and no guys ever looked at me, and I basically just decided a year of glory was worth trading for that. And now she's twice as strong as the world champion heavyweight weightlifter, and I could tear a table apart like paper, right?
Yep.
So she's like, the only reason I didn't commit suicide is that no one would notice. It's kind of sad, but anyway.
She also says, "But now look, I'm better than other people. My acne's gone. Even my bust line's bigger. I'm going to be a hero. This means something, Harold." But then the sirens go off.
Yep. Alien attack. So now the Horde is attacking, right? And they actually order what's his name, Harold, to
Like an underground bunker. They want him
Right.
and all the Morituri subjects to go underground because they want to protect them because they're very valuable. You know?
Right. But he doesn't want to. He's like, I can't go and hide. I am the defense auxiliary. And she's like, you're under my command. Go now. Right. And so then now he's in this little like bunker with like the other, what are they called? Like volunteers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. The
And,
Morituri volunteers.
Yeah. And then like, which girl is this again that grabs the thing on the wall? This is
That's Aileen again.
Oh, that's her again. So she's basically pissed off, and she's like, she grabs onto this little handle that's on the door and tries to break it, and she actually ends up like, what is it? Does it? It kind of like zaps and explodes, and it destroys the wall.
She thought she'd be able to rip open the door with her super strength, but she can't. But here, all this energy starts coming out of her body and her hands, and she just like blows up the door, and she doesn't know how that happened. Because like we said, the process goes in phases. You get the strength and the endurance, and then the next phase you get your unique power. So she's kind of developing her unique power, and she doesn't know what to do. But yeah.
Right.
But the door blows up, and so now they go and they get in their ships, and they're going to go help the commander lady fight the alien horde.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then she looks down and she's like, she's like, look at what they're doing down there. There's blood all over, and aliens, stop! We're too high. Don't worry about me, Harold. See you below. And then she jumps out.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of this battle with the Horde. And they run down and they're shooting laser guns. And it looks like Aileen is throwing something really big and heavy. It looks like a vehicle of some kind, right? At the aliens.
Yeah, and I like the laser guns or the whatever guns they're using because it's like you get the muzzle flash, and then there's another muzzle flash, and then there's another muzzle flash, like in a string. There's three of them.
Right.
You know? So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then we see the Horde, and we see more detail. Like we see like their full bodies now. Again, humanoid, but they have like little, almost like clawed feet, and they're wearing they're dressed kind of like savagely, I guess you could say, even though they're an alien race, right?
Yeah, kind of like out of Conan the Barbarian. Because I should say this alien horde group. They give them a name eventually, but this group of aliens, they're savage. And
right.
you're like, well, how do these savage aliens have the technology to come to Earth and do all this with their fancy ships and everything? Well, there's actually a peaceful alien race, that went to their planet to try and teach them how to be peaceful and loving, and they just murdered all those aliens and took their technology. And then they took that technology, went to Earth, and now they're just marauding through Earth.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I wonder if that idea was thought up by the following writer after Peter Gillis.
No. I think this was all.
It was all planned.
I think
okay.
this was all planned. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So anyway, so then he's Emerson. What's Emerson, Lake and Palmer? Everson is fighting this alien, and then is that Jolene again?
Well, her name's Aileen, but no, Everson is getting attacked by an alien. He's about to get murdered by this alien, but the commander lady, she shoots the alien, and she says,
Right,
Everson, what in blazes are you kids doing here? Get back to the base. You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in the bunker. We're protecting you. You're too valuable. And then while she's yelling at him, she gets shot in the back. Bang.
Right. And then Everson tells someone else to get the commander back to the ship, and she's not dead. She's just laying there like, no, don't let him go. Stop him.
Yeah, because they're wearing like body armor and shit. Oh, what was that, Michael?
Oh, that was just a pop-up like ad that's gonna wipe out my computer. But anyway. So then he's like kind of like narrating to himself, and so here you are playing hero, and your adrenaline believes that you'll live forever, and he's like running through this hail of bullets, right?
Yeah.
Shooting at all the aliens. And then he's like, isn't that right, Mr. Hero, Mr. Immortal? I had driven back the evil horde from our beloved shores. Too bad I'd forgotten to get out of the way of their thruster exhaust. This spaceship takes off, and it kills our hero.
Yeah, see, this is confusing. Because earlier in the book, they said that part of the way the aliens destroy cities, it's just their exhaust from their ships melt the buildings and shit.
Right.
So he's caught up in the exhaust of the ships. You're like, oh my God, is he going to be dead or murdered? And then we have to go to the next page, and then we see the ship flying away. But now we see Aileen is on top of him. Like she shielded him from the exhaust, I guess.
Right.
But it's not really... The way it's depicted is not clear.
No.
I don't think.
No, because ideally you would see like some hint of it in the previous page, right?
Yeah, like she jumps to protect, because we see him engulfed in the exhaust.
Right.
So it's like she was a little late.
Yep. Right.
But then we cut to the next page, and like the second panel, we see her like on top of him. She says, hey, all I can say, Harold, is that you better get some powers of your own quick. You're one berserk SOB, you know that? Because he's a rabid beaver. That's all right. He's a rabid beaver. So now we cut back to the facility there, the Morituri place, and the commander lady's yelling at him. She's like, yeah, you're all a bunch of stupid idiots. You're a bunch of dum-dums. You thought this was part of the new universe. You're not.
Yeah.
And she said, you should have stayed in the bunker. These aliens... Now, this also confused me, Michael, because that depot wasn't important. The Horde got away with a warehouse full of pharmaceuticals and another full of chocolate. Chocolate! Now, I think pharmaceuticals, that sounds like that could be important.
Sure.
But she's saying that raid that the Horde went on, it wasn't even important. You shouldn't have been involved. Well, if that's the case, why were you there?
Yeah, like, good point.
So
I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right?
But you think that she would know? So you're saying she didn't know what was in those warehouses either?
That's the thing.
That the commander would know what's in the warehouse.
Yeah, I don't think she knew, because you're right. If she did know, why was she there? So I don't think she knew either.
Okay. But we also learned that there was a lot of humans being murdered there, because when Aileen looked down and she saw all the blood and stuff. So, I mean, I guess, I don't know. It just seemed a little weird. I guess you should be yelling at them, but I don't know. Did this play well for you here?
No.
A little weird to me.
It's not bad, but it's not great. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we should mention Aileen also references earlier that one of the reasons she wants to kill the Horde is her family's from San Diego, because I guess the aliens nuked San Diego. So, yeah. That's not good. That's
backstory.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's just yelling at him, you morons are supposed to become Earth's secret weapon. You don't get yourself killed over chocolate. You're dismissed. Get out of here. Yeah.
And yeah, so then he's like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do what anyone else would do in this situation. Read some more comic books, right?
Yeah, read the Black Watch some more.
Right. But then he can't really get into it, right? He's having trouble concentrating, so he drops the comic. And then he's having flashes of like his parents. He's having flashes of the video he saw of the guys getting, lasered to death, right? Then of the woman freaking out.
That's Aileen.
Yeah, Aileen freaking out. And then the
Aileen being happy as well.
Right.
But yeah, this is a great page. It's one big panel, big splash page, and he's in the foreground with his hands in his his head in his hands, and he's thinking, and he's all sad. But we have all the images around him thinking about this, and there's a lot of heavy blacks in the background. The inking on this book is really good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it's Scott Williams, I believe.
Yes.
Check. Now that name's from. He's had to have done other things I've read.
Oh yeah, well he's one of the most famous inkers. Like he did. He's the one that teamed up with Jim Lee, and is like the most prominent inker at like Image Comics. Basically, he kind of invented that Image style of inking.
Yeah, because the inking here is very strong. And then the next page we get, there's one panel here at the top on the left, and it's just solid black, except for Harold's in the bottom left corner, and he's putting on his robe, but everything else is solid black. And then the next panel, we see it's shot from behind Harold, and he's walking into a doorway of light, and we still have solid black on the left. So you see that he's made his decision. He's coming out of the uncertainty, and he's going to the light. Yep,
that's good. And then he walks into the room, and that's Aileen, right?
No, that's the commander lady.
Oh, that's the commander. And he's Emerson. Okay, and she says...
Everson.
Now what? I've got a report to write, and it's all silent. And then he says, Commander, I've decided to sign on.
Yeah.
And then it says, next, the garden. And it says, neat costumes, nifty names, and instant karma. Don't miss it.
So there you go, issue 1, Strikeforce Morituri. I got to tell you, Michael, I really enjoyed this a lot.
This was surprisingly good, I must say.
I thought this was great.
Yeah.
There's a couple little clunky things that you mentioned. There's another bit where he's talking about, where is it? But there's a line where he's trying to reference that he saw his own death in those videos of those guys dying. But the way it comes across is a little awkward and a little confusing. But except for those 2 or 3 minor little things in here, the exhaust and Aileen saving him, I really enjoy this. This is very well done. The writing is very strong. Again, the premise here is exceptional. Brent Anderson's art is great. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed by the art in this book, and especially the inking. And I really enjoyed this a lot.
I definitely think, like once in a while I'll read a Marvel comic from this time that is so out of step with everything else in a good way, right? Like they didn't care what everybody else was doing. They're just out to make a good story. And I wish Marvel would have done more of that at the time, but this is definitely, of course, it had nothing to do with anything else, and so no one bought it, but it's definitely really good.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to read more of this, Miguel.
Yeah, I think I might as well.
I'm probably going to read all of the first 20 that Peter Gillis did.
Yeah. So. I should also point out, I didn't realize, so this came out December 85?
Oh, okay.
So that's like a full year before the New Universe started. Another reason not to confuse it with the New Universe, right?
Yeah, the cover date is 86 or whatever, but we always learn what that is, right?
Right.
So you explain that to me.
Yeah. But, You want me to explain it now?
Oh, if you want, tell the kids.
No. So the cover date is December 80. I can't read it, but I think it's 85.
No, I think that's 86. So this is December 86.
It's December 85 because the next issue is January 86. Because the next issue is the Marvel 25th anniversary when that begins, and that's 80s. Oh, crap. No, you're right. This is December 86. The next issue is January 87. Okay. I'm totally off.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had the published 86, but I thought it was one of them deals like it stays on the newsstand until 80 or whatever.
But the December means when you pull it from the newsstand. So that means this came out at least 3 months ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
If not more, yeah.
But this was 86 into 87.
Yes.
All right. So Strikeforce Morituri for me, this is a 9 out of 10 for me. This is very good. This is like like literature, like, you know what I mean? This is kind of like a literature story. This is not a comic book story.
Literary story, yeah.
Yeah, because of the highfalutin concept. Right. This is classic sci-fi.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I already knew he was a good writer because I read but this is definitely good stuff. Yeah, it was a nice surprise.
So what do you give it there, Michael?
Oh, you gave it what, a 9?
9 out of 10.
I can't give it a 9. I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a very good book. I highly recommend everyone goes out and reads Strikeforce Morituri.
Right. Nothing to do with the new universe.
No, not at all.
In fact, I think we'll both agree this is better than any new universe title we've read yet, right?
Well, Kickers Inc. was pretty good. But
and don't forget DP7. That was a solid one.
DP7 was solid. That was a solid book. But yeah. Spitfire and the Troubleshooters we also did. Wasn't so good.
Not so good. Not
Star
so good.
Brand. We also
did. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Not really. Yeah, that wasn't great. We still have 4 to go, though, right?
Yes, we do.
Merc, Night Mask, Sci-Force, and Justice.
Yeah. But before we can get to those, we've got another highfalutin comic book to review next week for the big 150th episode of Flea Market Fantasy. Should I tell everybody what we're doing? Oh, yeah, you don't know, do you?
Well, for the big 150th issue, we will be giving out our awards for the previous 50 books that we've read.
Yes.
We'll look back over the past year, and we'll hand out our awards for, the Academy will hand out the awards for, like, Best Book, Best Hero, Best Villain, Best Monkey, Best, what else? Best Cover, Best Artist, Best Writer, I think. Those are the titles. Those are all the awards.
And I will be listing some facts about our show, like highest rated, lowest rated, longest, shortest, all that stuff, good stuff.
Again, it's all subjective.
And then, we'll have a special guest in the form of Tuffy, which...
our buddy Tuffy. He's been on here. He did the Star Wars episode. He did Peacemaker, and he did Kickers Inc.
That's right. And Tuffy, like any good comic book fan, demanded that we review a Superman comic.
Yeah, what the hell is this, Tuffy? Yeah, he says, I'll come back on. Just let's do a Superman book. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Superman stinks. He's like, no, I want to do a Superman book. So I'm like, all right.
A man after my own heart. And then, because I like to please everybody, Mike Dell requested that we do a Superman story featuring Bizarro.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love
everyone's
Bizarro.
Favorite supervillain. So I dug deep for this one, and I've never read this issue before. But we're going to go all the way back to Superman number 379, featuring not only Bizarro Superman, but Bizarro Batman, Bizarro Aquaman, Bizarro Green Lantern, and Bizarro Hawkman. Yep.
This sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. Sure it is.
All right, Michael. I mean, I hate Superman, but yeah, this sounds pretty good.
It's going to be a good time. Trust me, be sure to join us next week. It's going to be fun. So there you go. You can find every episode of Flea Market Fantasy at comicbooksyndicate.com. It's always a Bronze Age comic. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks, and it's all good fun. So until next Tuesday, disperse!